Good morning, friends. This is Sue at Miller's Laboratory, and thank you for joining me today. Today I have another completed book that I'm going to flip through for you. It's this pretty brown one with this cool embossed texture on it. But before I do that, there were a couple of journal cards that I had put in the book that last night when I was kind of going through everything, counting the pages and such, I pulled these out because I really didn't like the way they looked, and I thought I would redo them. And I thought maybe you guys would get something out of this and seeing why I didn't like them and why I chose new things. So these two journal cards were both made with, and I apologize, there was some tearing because I already had started to take these apart. These were some labels that were from a printable from the Graphics Fairy. Printables there are PDF files, so you don't really do any alteration of the file, the coloring, or anything like that. Just print it out as is and use it. And so I had printed these. This was a sheet of, I think, 6 of these labels, and I thought they were really pretty. I love birds, and I loved the yellow background color, and I thought they would be perfect. So I created these cards just out of some old manila scrapbook paper and a little bit of collage of neutral papers on there, and then I put the label on. And the first thing that I noticed when I did that was that the yellow background really blended into this cream color that's in the back, and you really had a hard time seeing the label. It was like just disappeared into the background. So the brown outline here, I did that with a marker because I thought maybe that would help. It would just make that label stand out a little bit, and it did. But the other thing that bothers me, I think, about these is just the scale of it, because these are so large. They fill up the majority of the card, and especially that they're filling up almost the whole height of it. I just feel like the proportions are not good, and so I really just didn't like these. So I pulled them out and I thought I'll just make some new ones, and then I second guessed myself and thought maybe I would just remake them. So I tried to tear off the labels, and I did. This one came off in one piece. This one unfortunately did not. And what I was left with was this background, which I was like pleasantly surprised, because this reminded me of an old distressing technique that I used to use, and I kind of just forgot all about it. But like if you have some book page or something and it's a little bit too much contrast, you want to play down the letters a little bit and make it a little softer, you can just take a piece of tape. I'm just going to grab, I just happen to have this double stick tape right here. And of course, the roll hasn't been started yet. Give me a second. I'll be right back. I think I'm prepared, and then I'm not. All right, so I'm just tearing off a piece of this tape. It could be Scotch tape, it could be masking tape, whatever tape you want. It just has to be sticky tape. And you would just put it on your background. I'm going to put some right here because I can see that glue line and I don't really like that. So I'm just going to push that tape down and then pull, and it's going to pull off some of that background or some of those letters. And if you use it on text, like if I do it over here, this is super sticky tape and this is very delicate background paper, but sometimes it'll just tear up a little bit of the letters. Trying to get it to do that, and leave the paper behind, but it looks more white, kind of like this, and that looks really cool. So I don't dislike the way these look right now. I'm not feeling like I need to try to cover this up. It doesn't bother me too much. Just take off a little bit of that spottiness there. There we go. This one though, it took off a big layer, so it's really thin and flimsy right there. So I am going to have to at least glue something over that because it's just a little bit too delicate there. Okay, all right, so now I have this new substrate to work with, and the first thing that I did is I went back to my printer and I went back to that file and I reprinted out the same labels but I set the size. On my printer, I can do custom size, and I did it at 70%. So it printed out quite a bit smaller on the page and made these labels that are a lot smaller. And in my mind, the scale of these, excuse me, is much nicer for this size journal card. However, you can see that they're still kind of getting lost on there. It's not horrible, but it is a little bit hard to see them. So we have some choices. I could layer these onto a darker paper and cut it out to make like a little frame all the way around. Or just glue it onto a darker paper and then tear it out or something and use it. Or I can alter the background and make the background darker to put down onto the card. So the first thing I thought of was this really cool embroidery pattern that I have. I don't remember where I got this. If anybody's interested, I can look it up. It's something I purchased on Etsy. I printed this out a little bit darker than the original, and I thought that might be really pretty with the colors in it. And as soon as I lay that label on there, I can see that I do not like that. And I hope that you can see how, because of the busyness of the background, you just kind of, especially on this one, just kind of lose the label again. So even though I like this pattern very much, it's not for this project. It will show up somewhere else. So the next thing I thought of was I had been playing around with some coffee dye images that I have and made them really dark, like actual coffee colored, and I thought that's very pretty. And if we lay our labels on that, you can see the difference, how much they show up there versus that other paper. So this is a much better choice. And I think it looks really pretty with that sort of lacy design. I tore it up a little bit here to kind of play with it, to just get an idea of how this would look like if we lay a torn piece across and then put a label over it. I think that looks very nice. And you can just take this down here and lay it at the bottom to get sort of a all the way around view of what that card would look like. I would actually put it down a little bit more like that. I think that looks really nice. I like that a lot. So I might do that. But I have one other option. I wish you guys could tell me right now which you like better. But I'm just actually going to choose right here on camera, and then that's what they'll be. I have some images of doilies, and I printed these two out because I thought instead of going dark, maybe if I went really light on the background, it would help them show up too. So, and you can see it does show up much better on the white than it does on the off-white. So if I were to put, like, let's say I put, this on here like this, I'm finding the embroidery on there really distracting. Let's see. I actually kind of like it like that, where you just see that little bit of line work instead of the flowers. I don't hate that one either. So there's that. And then let's see what we could do with this one. I chose doilies especially that wouldn't cover up my whole background because I like my background here too. I don't really want to lose that. If we put this here, maybe over here, I really like that too. So now I have to decide, did I like this sort of look or did I like this sort of look? And they're both effective. I think they're both good. I think that just because the idea of these journals is that I'm calling them pretty journals, I think I'm going to go with the pretty doily in the background, just because it's not that I don't think this is pretty. I love this too, but this is a little more dainty looking, so I think we're going to go with that. So let me get those glued up, and then we'll go through and take a look at the book. Take that off. I'm going to speed this up. You don't have to watch me glue. You may not watch me glue at all if I can't get the glue to come out. I'll just wrap that around to the back. Card number 1, all done. And card number 2, all done. All right, let's take a look at the book. So I have tied this book closed with some vintage lace, and this lace is a little bit mysterious, but I think maybe it came from the top of a slip or something, because it actually had this little sort of strappy thing attached to it, and I think there probably was another one that's gone. So it's kind of an interesting piece. It is very fragile, so I can't really pull this to make it tight and cinch down the book at all. It's just more to hold it closed and look nice, just so you know. All right, and we'll just slip these guys in when we get to their spot. Okay, so first page here, I've got the bookmark that I made here from the paint chip, and also a tag tucked in. And right off the bat, we've got this gigantic bee. So if you're a bug phobic person, this may not be the book for you. There are a couple other big bees in here too, but I chose them because the color is nice. The colors that I'm using in here are sort of peachy toned, warmer pinks, yellows, golds, and sometimes the book just speaks to me and tells me what to use. So those are the colors that wound up being in here. Original book page here. I think that's from this book. Yes, it is, and it's really nice paper. Nice little pleated pocket here with a tag inside, or a journal card. That is a printed out postcard that I added an image to the other side. Up tuck here, and here's our little journaling spot that we created together in an earlier episode of this series. Here is, you're going to see lots of these different marbled papers. This was the first book I made. Actually, I made this one a little bit earlier and then decided to make this into a series, so I added all the other books. So there's a lot of this marbled paper in here. Just a very simple journal card. You could definitely do a little bit more embellishing on that if you wanted to, add a label or some flowers on the side. Whatever floats your boat. It is fun to be able to add your own touches a little bit to these books too. We have the same thing here. Another belly band with the same little calendar lady. Well, it's not the same one, but a calendar image there. Stamp with some actual stamps put on there. This is side tuck, the tag inside. And I made this by just adding this paper and folding it over the side so that you got a pocket on each side. Just a little notebook that I showed you again earlier in the series. Each one of the books in this series is getting one of those. Here's a pretty little window pocket that I created with this frame image. I'm just going to tip it a little bit because there's acetate in there and it's a little bit glary. But just slide out this journal spot, and this one opens. So you can write, can't write so much here, but you can write on here and all over the back. Some plainness there. And again, this is great for writing here. Some old embroidery transfer paper. Here I've created one of these little, I don't know what this would be called, but it has the picture, and then each segment here opens up for journaling inside, and then they're also pockets. And each one of these, the top is a pocket as well. I'm just not putting something in there because it will stick out so far. And that kind of reminds me, I just want to say, I create some things that stick out the top and some tabs sometimes that stick out the side a little bit. And I just wanted to say that I try to package those really carefully when I ship them so that that doesn't get smushed. I don't know if I've been successful or not, but I hope that nothing gets damaged in shipping. This just has a little fold over, and I decided not to add anything else to it, but you definitely could. And I just tucked this inside, and this is like a little sleeve here made out of an old envelope. You open it up and it's fun. You can see these in an earlier video from this series too. I did some mass making for these books. Okay, now here I used a piece of an envelope. This envelope actually was used in another book, so I can't remember if we've already seen it, but I decided to use the rest of it here. So this flap here, it's upside down. This is the flap of the envelope, and I just left that open so it could be a little tuck spot. And look, we didn't finish off this tag. This is why we do our flip throughs. Let me grab a punch here. You know what? For this one, I think I'll just create a little tab on it. And I'm just going to grab something here like a scrap. I'm just going to use a little bit of this ledger paper. And I'm just going to cut me a tab. Cut me a tab here. And that will just get glued right on like that. Yeah, I think that looks good. So let's get that done. My apologies. It's better to find it now though than not catch it and ship it out with something not done. I would feel really bad about that. There we go. Okay, so then that has a little tab on it. And then we have this pretty bird just glued on there. So the inside of the envelope here is a pocket. I just made a little tri-fold sort of tag journaling spot for that. And then I also glued it down so that the back is a pocket. So we have another tag in there. A lot going on this. Between this and this on the other side, this is a thick, heavy page here. Some old handwriting here. This old antique magazine. I love the pictures that are in here. Here I just cut out a couple of little coupons. Those were printed and glued them together to make a corner tuck. Journal card here with the piano roll paper on the back. Here's another top tuck with a butterfly on it, and I just tucked this pretty tag in there. Made several things for this that in mass making where I tried to use up some book pages and some scrap paper that I had. Just layered this pretty print of the eggs. It's printed onto tracing paper, and then I just used that antique looking tape to attach that. And just added this beautiful, I think that's a butterfly bush image to kind of balance out with the oranges in here. Pretty image of pears to make a journal card. This one I just only cut one corner off just to be different. And again, this one could definitely be embellished. You could add tag or, you know, whatever else you like. For this corner tuck, I just used this label with a little bit of lace glued at the top. And here we have the little hanging journal card that you've seen in all the other books, and this fold down journaling space / belly band. I like the background paper that's on this page. It's an old map. There we go. Now over here there's just a pocket that was created by folding the bottom of the page up. This is an old antique, or very vintage. I'm thinking this is from the 40s, an old business letter. Pretty tag or journal spot here with another bee on it. And just added a butterfly there. And I like the placement of that because then when you turn this page, you still see it. Just design choices that I make. This I left blank because it's good for writing, so I left that blank. All right, now this little mark is telling me that this is where we want to put one of our new journal cards. So I think I'll put this one in there. Another up tuck. Just, again, another very simple journaling card here. And here is a real pretty belly band, and in there I tucked this, it's an old envelope with an image stapled onto the corner. The envelope is not really as old as it looks. I did age that, and I did the writing on it and the stamping and everything. Inside here there is an old photo, and there's an old 1940s document in there. I try to add a little bit of old ephemera in those in each book. Other side of the belly band wraps over and creates this tuck spot, and this is another one of those journaling spots that I made out of old book pages. If you're just seeing this for the first time, it's worthwhile to watch the rest of the series because I do show you a lot of tips and different techniques that I use. Here is the little, the top pocket or the top tuck that goes all the way across where I added the little flags or pennants. And in here is just a very simple little stapled together, I guess, a little notebook. I'm just going to flip over here because these are sort of mirror, even though this is in the middle. On these I used one image and cut it in half so that they go together. So I just thought I'd show you that. Right. To be a little bit careful tucking them up under all of those flags so you don't catch one and fold it backwards or tear it. Go. All right, so here we just had a book page in the middle from some kind of a botanical book. And on this side, I just split the flap and attached two little tags there. I have a little pull-out, old certificate of honor. It creates a pocket here on this page. And you'll recognize this too from previous, just a little notebook that we made from an old book page. So, I hope everybody had a good 4th of July. Haven't really talked about that, but it's Sunday the 5th today, and I have had a really nice weekend. Here in the town I live in, we had our fireworks on Friday night. They chose to do it that way because it was about half the cost. It was going to be very expensive to have a big display because of the semi-quincentennial. So we had our fireworks on the 3rd, and they were really nice. And then I thought maybe last night I would drive somewhere and watch fireworks again because I'm a patriotic person, and I wanted to really celebrate the 4th. We did celebrate during the day. We had our kids over for a cookout. There's just an actual vintage postcard that I tucked in there. But I was tired, so I did not drive. I would have had to drive about, 20 minutes away, which isn't that bad, but then you have to find a place to park and you're fighting with all of that. Just decided not to do it. And we had a really nice surprise because our neighbors had a little fireworks show in the front yard. It was actually quite good. And so we just went out in our driveway and watched the fireworks last night, which was very fun. So this is some old vintage wallpaper that I think is so pretty, this yellow background. It's got little touches of gold on it, and I just wanted to get that in there. So I folded it over to create a pocket on each side. And when I did that, I made this real simple journal card here. I just felt like I wanted a little touch of gold on it to go with the gold in the wallpaper. So I had this old sheet of labels that had words on them, like, you know, strength and joy, and, you know, that's not really my style. But so I just cut it out, and then I cut out that little bit of music paper and glued it over the top, so the gold just makes a frame there for that. So you can get creative with using your old supplies, even though you don't necessarily love them in their current format. This is another one that just opens up, made on an old book page. And we have a little flap of fussy cut flower there that does not want to stay down. I'm just going to add a little glue there. So anyway, we had a really nice day, and I was really excited to see those fireworks right in my own driveway. And then I came inside and I thought, well, maybe I'll watch a little TV. I don't know why I wasn't tired. And I wound up watching the celebration in Washington, D.C., which the fireworks there were just really mind-blowing. Like, I can't believe what they did. Pretty butterfly there. I'm sure you can watch it on YouTube. It just went on, and there was just so many. I thought, oh my gosh, it would be so fun to go there and actually see that in person, maybe someday. I don't know that they'll always have that big of a display, because obviously this is a special year, but it was just really cool. Here I just added a little bit of an extra page, and that's just hinged there, and this is just a printout of a cover of an old probably seed catalog or something, and just really pretty fussy cut there on that page. This page I just tucked a couple of tags. These were actually shorter tags that I altered to make longer. I added extra paper to the bottom, and I thought they looked cute like that. And then I just used this little card here and glued it on like a tiny pocket and put this tiny little tag in there too. All right, just a butterfly added, and just a piece of pretty paper added across the top of that page for decoration. On this page you can write, but there's some old writing there. I added a distressed or an antiqued envelope on here. You flip it over and there's a journal card inside there. Love that image. All those beautiful peachy colors. And this is an envelope again that I made to look old, so I also put the stamp and, you know, did the stamping and the handwriting and everything on there, trying to make it look old even though it's not. Simple little side tuck here with a very simple, sorry, that doesn't look right like that, does it? It goes that way. Just a very simple journal card there on an old vintage card. And then here is a little pocket made out of a piece of an envelope. Pretty tag inside there. And this one again, you can actually put something in here and in here. I just didn't. This book is getting so very, very fat. I had to kind of try to stop myself a little bit. I love this. I think this is what actually gave me the idea for the color scheme. This is like a page from an old children's book, and I love that orangey color. So that's kind of where I got that whole peachy color scheme for this book. This is a beautiful image. I believe this is from the Graphics Fairy also. I love this. It's a wallpaper, I think, with the yellow poppies. I love it so much I printed out a whole page of it, and I decided to make it into an envelope. So this little label here holds it closed, and then it's just a journal card inside there. Great place to tuck some of your own little treasures there too. Right. And then I just took that bookmark out. On the back of this, there is just a little tuck spot, and so that's where I'm going to put that other little card that we just made. I added a butterfly here. A label here that just creates a tiny little pocket for a tiny little tag again. And then this beautiful image of the peach. Very pretty. It's just got all the colors in it. All the colors. I love this image too that I just added at the bottom as a border. And I love how the butterfly goes with that. I really like the way this looks with how you see this over here and everything. Again, the layers, I really pay attention to the layers, or I try to, because like every time you turn the page you get a little bit different view. Here's a card just made out of a paint chip in this belly band, and just added that pretty iris image there. Here is another pocket that's created by folding the page up on the bottom, and this is the little notebooks that we made out of the art book page. Or I don't know if I did those on camera, if I just showed them to you, but and last we have a little pocket here with a couple more tags in it. And I see that I haven't added my label yet. So I just need to put my label in there and sign the book, and then this one will be ready to go. So, as always, if the video is up, then the book is in the shop. They have been going pretty fast. So I hope that you have your notifications turned on for my shop and for my videos, so that if you want one of these, you're able to get one. So thank you for joining me today. You guys mean a lot to me. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day, and God bless. Bye-bye.